Okay, the dog stopped barking. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Scott. You're at the Pressing Matters, and this is a special segment on Mobile Fidelity Sound Lab. I decided to do this. I don't have any new releases in the house, so I thought it would be kind of fun to go through the 3 eras of Mobile Fidelity Sound Lab and kind of take a look at some of the highlights of what they did during each era. They started in the 80s and was started by Brad Miller, who was at the time before this recording train sounds and thunderstorms and sound effect type things. And he actually did put out a couple of those on the Mobile Fidelity label early on. I think he also did the sound effects for that series of easy listening albums. I can't remember the name now. That you know, had storms behind the music, like a romantic easy listening album. But at any rate, it was really exciting news when he announced that he was going to start reissuing classic rock albums in audiophile format, and it was very successful. They started out with some heavy hitters, actually, really surprising. One of the early ones, these aren't actually in order, but one of the early ones was iRobot, Alan Parsons' project. And if you've ever heard that, you know, it's a demo disc. Really, really excellent version of this album. They redid it later as a 2x45, and that one also gets really good reviews. Next, as far as early, is another sonic blockbuster, Supertramp, Crime of the Century. To me, this is their top album, and it never sounded better. Maybe the Speaker's Corner sounds a little better, but I like this one very, very much. The Speaker's Corner I got, there's a sad story attached to it. I got it, I didn't open it, and when I finally opened it, it had surface noise, non-fill. I was very disappointed because I couldn't do anything about it at that point. So open your records. Next one was, wow, they got a Beatles release. They actually signed on to get these Beatles reissues done. They started with 2, the White Album and Abbey Road. And Abbey Road was particularly successful. I also liked the White Album as well. They eventually did the Beatles box set with all the albums and issued them all separately as well. This is the White Album. And if you need a stereo copy, I think this is a really acceptable stereo copy. Sounds fantastic. The early releases sometimes get accused of playing too much with the EQ. I just wanted to mention that. When you see the term smiley-faced EQ, what that means is the ends have been brought up. The treble, the bass are boosted, and that gives it a little more oomph. Especially on a lower-end stereo, it can sound pretty impressive. As you get up to a higher-end stereos, sometimes they sound a little exaggerated, but they're still a fun listen. Some of these have it, some of them don't, but they're all still good. Another great band they got to reissue was the Doors. This one, I think, was the only one though. And what an album. It sounds great too. This was later done by DCC and then by Analog Productions. I think Analog Productions holds the crown at the moment on that release for their 2x45 version. This is, I really like this one. This is Ziggy Stardust, of course, David Bowie. And this version really pops for me. I love it. There may be better UK pressings of this, but a nice clean copy of this is hard to resist. And you know, these were all pressed on JVC Super Vinyl, so they're super quiet and really a joy to listen to. I love that one as well. I bought two of the Pink Floyd reissues that they did, Metal and Atom Heart Mother. And unfortunately, I wasn't crazy about Atom Heart Mother musically, and I decided to sell it when I had a weak moment. And I'm not happy about that. I would love to have it now, but yeah, I do have Metal, and I have several copies of Metal. I think my Japanese Odeon may sound a little better than this, but this is a good one to have too. Certainly an expensive one to get. Also in the early era, they did some classical titles from EMI. I think EMI only. Oh, EMI and Decca. This one is probably the best one. It's pictures at an exhibition by Riccardo Muti. And this one will blow you away. The dynamics on this record are shocking. Really, really good. Love this one. Okay, so in previous videos I covered a couple of these early ones as well. I'm just going to show them to you. And if you'd like to see the full review on them, which I suggest you do, click on the links below and you'll get to see one of my favorite early MOFIs, Year of the Cat review, Al Stewart, John Clemmer's Touch, fantastic record, and the one I just did last video is Powerful People, Gino Vanelli, one of my favorites. That concludes the early section of MOFI. So the second section is called the Anidisk Era, and that's when in the 90s they started pressing on heavyweight vinyl, and it wasn't at JVC. So these are 200 gram pressings. The packaging is a little beefed up, and they are stickered limited editions. Here's one of the Anidisks they did of Alan Parsons, Tales of Mystery and Imagination. Did a really nice job with this. Has a little fold out. Vellum. Beautiful. That's a good one. They did a couple of Moody Blues albums. To Our Children's Children, On the Threshold of a Dream, and Every Good Boy Deserves Favor. Here's a couple of them. This is On the Threshold of a Dream, which was also done by Nautilus Super Discs at one time, which wasn't very good. This is better. Children's Children is really good too. I feel like the British pressings on these are probably better. I have British pressings for the earlier In Search of the Lost Chord. It sounds spectacular. It has a little bit added edge over these pressings. Even though it's not a direct comparison, the British pressings are probably the way to go in that, but those are very nice to have as well. These, Jean-Michel Jarre, Oxygene, and Equinox were done in the Anidisk series. I love both of them. I particularly like Equinox. It's really, really a great listen. And I have Japanese, German, French, and American pressings of both of these albums, and these stand up. They're really good too. They were able to do a couple of Bob Marley titles. I'm just showing you one. The other is Catch a Fire. This is Exodus. Really like this one a lot. There may be better pressings out there of this, but a nice clean copy of these albums is definitely worthwhile. One of my favorites from the Anidisk era is Cat Stevens' Teaser and the Fire Cat. Makes a nice companion to Tea for the Tillerman, which is another audiophile favorite. This one actually ended up on this Absolute Sound Super Disc list, which is kind of rare for Mobile Fidelity records. I think Touch was the only other one, maybe Year of the Cat, early on, but this one ended up there later, and it's definitely worth checking out. Excellent record. handsome picture of cat. So that brings us to the later era. They were very fortunate to be able to put out several Sinatra records. Now, they had a Sinatra box prior to these, and several discs in there are really good. But these were nice because they were packaged in gatefolds, beautifully done on the new the modern Mobile Fidelity. Their pressings are done at RTI, and they are fantastic. This is a wonderful live album, very involving, a great listen. Features Count Basie and the orchestra too. It's a double LP, highly desirable. Another one that I really liked from that series was Only the Lonely, which is it's in mono on this edition, and it's a great vocal album. I like to use it to check my stereo every once in a while, check the balance and everything. But musically, it's a really good album. It's just a little sad. It's considered one of the Suicide albums, and you know, it's a loneliness album, but excellent recording, and maybe the best pressing you can find of this. Another one that I was really surprised they put out, but delighted, was Isaac Hayes' Hot Buttered Soul. Fantastic. Really nice to have a great pressing of this, because the original pressings were not pressed on good vinyl. So this was a godsend. And the price is otherworldly now. Just a couple more. I'm going to do this one. This was a nice edition of Roy Orbison's greatest hits, all-time greatest hits. It's a double record set, and if you know Roy Orbison's recordings, they are superb, and everything comes through on this pressing. Really beautiful. Last but not least is my favorite from the Silver series. The Silver series was, or is, using titles that they do not have the master tape for, and they kind of admit it in the banner. It just says Mobile Fidelity Sound Lab instead of original master recording. That doesn't mean they're not good though, and this one certainly proves that. This one is maybe from a digital source or a copy of the analog tape, but whatever it is, this is a sonic knockout. And if you know the music of Dead Can Dance, you will love this edition. And if you don't know the music, you should check it out, because it's really fantastic. Kind of world music influenced, but sonically stunning. So that's just a little trip through the 3 phases of Mobile Fidelity Sound Lab, later MOFI, and we love their releases. They're always interesting, they're always well done, and looking forward to more from them. Right now they're kind of into the one-step thing, and I didn't include those, although I should have probably, but there's been enough ink spilled on that. Anyways, till next time, I'm Scott, Pressing Matters. Thank you for tuning in. Talk to you next time.